Mike, are you a variant?
Maybe. Are you a variant?
I haven't checked recently. Hey guys, welcome back to the Talos of Movie Reviews podcast.
How do you
I
check?
am the special guest, Nick. This is the co-host, Mike. And today we're going to be talking about Loki mid-season review. This is going to be 100% spoilers. So, if you have not seen it, and it's a good show, I highly recommend you stop watching this. Go watch the show on Disney+. I believe we're on the 3rd episode right now. Midway through the season. Mike, what are your thoughts about this timeline-shattering TV show?
There needs to be more episodes. I need more Loki.
I need more Ryan Reynolds. You need more Loki. I guess we all have our thing.
I guess I got my wish of more Loki in the way of there's more Lokis because there's variants of Lokis.
True.
Yeah.
So 100%. So let's give a little bit of a backstory here. I can't imagine anyone listening to this who hasn't seen the show, because you shouldn't be watching this if you haven't seen the show, because we just did a spoiler warning.
It's illegal.
We don't care about spoilers.
It's illegal if you're watching this.
Yes, we will send global security from Apple to come arrest you because
why from Apple?
we have contacts. Well, that's global security.
Why don't we
Apple's
just send the
private
time
security
variants
detail.
with their weird disintegration sticks? I wonder if those are related
you know what?
to the...
You might create a nexus. Yeah, that's true, huh?
I was
All
thinking...
those people watching the TV show.
I don't know if we want to start on this, but those weird disintegration sticks, are those related to the the disintegration stick that... what's it called? The guy... Jeff Goldblum. Is that related to Jeff Goldblum's melty stick? I guess his is more melty, and then time variance is more snappy-ish.
Yeah. I don't really remember. I've only watched Ragnarok once, so I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the specific what it looked like or
No,
anything.
Nick.
But I remember he had a stick.
I mean Jeff Goldblum's stick. He has a stick in real life that melts people.
What? I always knew there was something wrong with Jeff Goldblum. It was just so fascinating.
There's too much power with him being in Jurassic Park. He learned too much.
Yes. Just learned way too much. Also, he looks way too smashing to be able to not smash people with this stick.
Indeed, Nick. Indeed.
Oh my God.
Speaking of smashing,
We're talking about Loki and how he is gender fluid. All right, let's
that's
check
interesting.
from that. It was very interesting. I was kind of like, okay, cool, that makes sense. I mean, that's how he is in Norse mythology. So it makes sense. Mythology,
Just like
the official way to pronounce it.
unobtainium. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce that.
Anyways,
Yeah,
I think
I don't know about your death sticks. Sorry,
I,
I don't want to buy any death sticks.
I will not sell you any death sticks. These
You
3
want to go home
episodes,
and
very
rethink about it.
interesting. I loved the first one, Nick. The first one hit it out of the park, I'd
Really?
say, in my opinion.
Okay.
Second one, building the world in a way, even though that was more of building time, I guess. I don't know. Building time, world, whatever universe that we're in. Also, is this multi-dimensional, multi-physical, I guess? I don't know. But then we get into, like, episode 3 where it's like, I don't know. Episode 3 seemed a little bit underwhelming to me. What are your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah. Well, I almost have the inverse feeling on that. I thought episode 1 was kind of the lower point for me because I kind of already was expecting a good amount of this, just from trailers and stuff. So my mind wasn't like blown at any point in episode 1, really. I mean, there's some good, wow moments, but unfortunately we haven't had any wow moments. So wow. Wow. So the first episode was really good, and so good that I immediately watched the second episode. So it wasn't terrible. No episodes here have been terrible, but I wouldn't say that was my favorite out of the 3 that we've seen so far.
So you picked up a little bit late then.
Yes. So for all of the Disney Plus shows so far, WandaVision, Winter Soldier and now Loki, I haven't been day one watchers of it. I kind of let it all fizzle out, and I'll binge the first 2 or 3 episodes. And because for me, I like to give a TV show 3 episodes, just as like, hey, it takes a while to hit your stride sometimes, and so I'm gonna give you 3 episodes, about 90 minutes of content for most shows, to figure out what you are, and if you're good or not, I'll keep watching. And so I kind of like to, with these Disney Plus shows, not so with The Mandalorian, but with the Marvel Disney Plus shows, I've kind of allowed them to have a little bit of time before I went ahead and watched the first 3, because at the end of the day, I'm not a huge Marvel fan. I'm getting to be more of a Marvel fan, but I'm not a huge Marvel fan. And so the idea of having to wait 3 weeks to make my decision whether or not I'm going to keep watching this show seems a little unbearable. So typically what I've been doing, what I did with WandaVision, what I did here, what I did with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I waited for the first two episodes to be done, and then I watched those and watched the third one. So far, I haven't been disappointed, but so maybe I need to remove that rule for Marvel TV shows, but we'll see. So yeah, I watched the first one, and then the second one had come out like over that week. I think they got it on Wednesdays or something, right? It was kind of like a weird day. I don't know why.
It used to be on Wednesdays. Fridays. I think what happened is they saw that if they released both Bad Batch and Loki on the same day, they're kind of burning out the amount of time people are watching Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Or maybe not burning out. It'd be more of everyone watches Disney Plus on Fridays, and then they don't get any activity until the next Friday. And so to ease their servers and or make it a little bit more balanced on their end and everyone else's end, they shifted Loki to Wednesdays, which I agree is a little bit weird. Like, I usually wait for Fridays. I'm like, oh, yes, another episode of Bad Batch. I've been watching Bad Batch, and I enjoy it. Maybe we'll review that in the future.
Same.
But, releasing on Wednesdays is a very interesting choice. I guess it's not too far from, like, watching regular TV shows like The Flash or CIS or Grey's Anatomy or anything else like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd rather prefer.
It feels a little different when it's streaming. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd rather it like on the Friday, so that way I can kind of ease into the weekend with something fun and interesting, especially with something like Loki, which is very much a lot of mischief.
Fun and interesting, as most people would say. Yeah, I was kind of surprised they didn't just move Bad Batch to Wednesdays, because, I mean, at this point, Bad Batch is kind of in the middle of its season. It's a 16-episode season. Their episodes are only like 25 minutes or something. So it kind of feels like, we get this big 35, 40-minute Loki episode, and then or are they 40 minutes? I can't remember. Like a large Loki episode. 45? Okay. Anyway, a big-sized Loki episode on a Wednesday, and then we're all excited for Friday, and it's like a 20-minute kind of animated kids story, which it's the Bad Batch, which I appreciate for what it is, but it's no Loki. And so it just kind of feels weird that they decided to bump Loki to Wednesday instead of, like, they had to have known about this scheduling issue months in advance, right? Like, it wasn't like any big surprise that they're like, oh wow, we want to do Loki on this Friday, and the scheduling department's like, no, we already have Bad Batch. Like, they had to have been people thinking about this. So I'm curious to see why they did this. I don't care what day it comes out, honestly, because it's a good show, and I was extremely excited to watch the third episode, and the third episode is my favorite as of right now, out of the 3 that we've seen. So
why is it
I'd
your
probably
favorite
rate
episode?
It episode 3, episode 2, episode 1 is my favorite. Because they allowed the character development to... I love me some good character development, and that's what really this whole episode was all about. Loki is the... what is he? Something of mischief. Is he God?
The Norse god of mischief.
Okay, yeah. And so that's his character, and then the girl Loki, what's her name? Dang it.
Sylvie.
Sylvie. Thank you. Mike's good with the names here. That's why we keep him around as co-host. I'm just the guest, though, so...
I'm so confused.
I'm going to kick you off your own show.
It's not a new thing.
So Sylvie is, more methodical version. She's still disrupting the status quo as far as, like, destroying the sacred timeline. But she is very methodical and well thought through. She's not, getting drunk on the train. She's trying to lay low. Like, their characters are very different, and we get to see at the beginning, as soon as they meet each other at the end of the last episode, episode 2, she could care less about him, and he honestly could also care less about her. At the end of the day, they're these two very prideful characters who think they're better than each other, when at the same time they're at the same level. They're not really better, they're just different, right? And so he has his magic, she has her telepathy or whatever that power is called. It's some kind of magic, enchanting, whatever it is. But they have their own separate powers, and each one at the beginning of episode 3 is looking down on the other, as having the inferior form of power. And what is exemplified perfectly is the scene with the old lady and the big cannon or whatever that thing was. That they both had a very different approach. Both of the Lokis had a very different approach to how to get into this house and ask for directions. Sylvie was just knocking down the door, and she got immediately blasted away. Where Loki was trying to impersonate her late husband, it seems, and it didn't work out very well for him either. And so it kind of showed that both of these characters are different, but they're equally unsuccessful. And so that's kind of the story of Loki, right? Throughout the entire MCU, he's the unsuccessful anti-hero, basically. He's the villain turned good guy, maybe, / we don't know, but he's never successful at what he's trying to do. And I can sympathize with that, because I've done a lot of things that haven't been successful. That's kind of why I've always liked Loki as a character. But it's that kind of yin and yang of the two Lokis, and then getting to watch them throughout this whole 3rd episode kind of get to know each other a little bit better, talk about their parents, their family, how their magic works, where they got their skills, and kind of get to know each other on a personal level, and realize that they're only going to survive when they both use their powers, the strong points of each other's powers together. And obviously the one-shot scene at the end was very fun. I always loved me some good long take, single take type action, and that was very good. Obviously it wasn't actually one take, but it was cut to make it look like it was one take. But yeah, I loved how it ended on a cliffhanger. I feel like most TV shows, don't end it on that. That was a season ender cliffhanger right there. That's the kind of cliffhanger you leave for the end of the season. But they haven't. And honestly, also the end of episode 2 could have been a season cliffhanger. Just with all of the time bombs dropping. So anyway, that's why I like the 3rd episode so much. Why do you like the 1st episode so much?
I think the building that it did, and also what really struck me as a surprise is, of course, Loki being the god of mischief, or not really interrogates, but figures out what happens in the future to him. And it breaks him out of his character of who he was after Avengers. Because I don't know if you've watched Dark World, Ragnarok, and all of those other ones. He was very much still Loki, very much still that man who wants to take over Earth and
power,
just have all the power. But watching what he did in this timeline that he was in and got to grow as a person, but also seeing his mother die, seeing how his brother loves him and how his dad did care about him and all that, and then having all of them taken away basically and then seeing his own death as well really kind of changed him. And I think that was almost a beautiful way to kind of explain in episode 3 why he gets drunk on the train. I wouldn't think Loki from Thor 1 or Avengers would have done that. He's very much more focused on the mission, kind of like Sylvie is. But the fact that he kind of got a spyglass view into his life, he realized, let's celebrate. We're fine. We're going to make it to wherever. But, of course, he gets carried away and all that. And turns out he should have just kept on, maybe not kept on being himself, but more focused on the mission like Sylvie was. And it's a nice way to kind of make this Loki more of a variant that they kind of call him, compared to the Loki that we knew. He's very much kind of changing into this different type of Loki, or this different aspect where it's a little bit more free, a little bit more mischief in a maybe not playful way, but at least he has his reasons for doing things and why he wants to do it. He's more intrigued by the TVA and who they are, and it's not just because he saw the Infinity Stones as little gems in a cupboard box, just showing how not powerful they are as a paperweight, and seeing how the TVA might be the ultimate power of the universe or whatever. and then slowly figuring out that the TVA isn't what they are or what they seem to be. Where it might just be run
Miss
by
Minutes.
Yeah, it could just be Miss Minutes. I didn't realize this until recently. Is voiced by one of my favorite voice actors. She's voiced by Tara
really?
Strong. She has voiced, I think, Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls, along with Timmy Turner from Fairly Odd Parents. Oh goodness, what else? She basically was my childhood in terms of all the characters I used to watch as a kid. She fantastic voice actor. I enjoy her and whatever thing she's in. I didn't realize she was Miss Minutes until I pulled up the IMDb recently. I'm like, oh, hey, that's a familiar face. But yeah, along with Owen Wilson, who's a pretty fun, familiar face as well in this. It is interesting how, I just want to, I guess, state this. It's interesting how we get all these different actors from various different walks of movies. Owen Wilson, very much like, I mean, a lot of people know him from Night at the Museum 1, 2, and 3, I guess. But then you get him in this, and you still kind of get the Owen Wilson, but you get the Owen Wilson version of whatever this character is. And it's a pretty fun character, nevertheless, that they explore in 2 episodes, and then we just don't see him in the 3rd episode at all, I don't think.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
But just all these different actors that they're kind of roping in. Like, we're getting Angelina Jolie, I believe, in the Eternals. It's like Angelina Jolie in a Marvel movie. Is Angelina Jolie? I think it is. No.
I have no idea who these people are you're talking about. So
I guess I'm just more...
I know Owen Wilson, and that's it.
I guess what I'm trying to get to is I love what Disney's doing with Disney Plus in regards to just bringing in more talent, getting people like Owen Wilson, who people know, or people like Sophia Di Martino, who I'm not familiar with, but I get to see her act as Sylvie and see how she takes on a role. And you see her in other roles, either in the future, or you can revisit movies or shows that she's done in the past. And it's a great way to get a whole lot of people into these superhero movies, but also just see what they bring to the table that Marvel is building out, especially with the freedom that they have now. It's becoming a huge, very long dinner table of different things you can pull from, whether it's like eventually having the X-Men come, or kind of looking at the Eternals, or Fing Fang Foom in was it oh gosh, I just forgot the name of the movie. It's coming out soon. That's great. That's embarrassing. But anyways.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't come prepared.
That's all right. Yeah, so I guess I don't know. I like the first episode in regards to its world building, in which that's why I like, but also it showed it peeled back some of the layers of this Loki a little bit more in regards to, like, yes, it's still the Loki that you remember from Avengers, but now he's come to terms that he might not ever make it back to our reality. He might be stuck at the TVA, or we will never see this Loki ever again, because we saw him die by Thanos and that was it. And now we're just seeing a different version of this Loki, but now, yeah. But I like what they're doing with this Loki.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, 100%. Loki, I distinctly remember saying this when it was one of the original Avengers movies, when Loki was in the helicarrier and Nick Fury was like, had Loki in there, and Loki's like, ant, meat, foot, or whatever. And it was like, I've always loved Loki, and I remember thinking back to that moment many times as I was like trying to name my favorite Marvel villain. Loki's always been up there. Like, Loki is top performance. Obviously Thanos has the universe-ending snap, but like Loki is the relatable villain that like I can see a lot of me in. Unfortunately, that desire to be appreciated and loved. I don't take it to trying to rule all of Earth, but always being overshadowed by someone. His older brother Thor. And there's a lot of these things that make Loki just such a good rounded out character. I am so happy that Marvel's first kind of antihero story is Loki, and not not Thanos or whatever, some other
Imagine a Disney Plus original with
Dormammu.
Thanos
6-episode
Dormammu.
show on him. Dormammu. Yeah, but like Loki is the perfect, person to pull a Cruella de Vil and take that story and just expand it out a little bit more. There's so much to do with Loki. Very, very happy about that. So, yeah, 100% love the show. Love what they're doing with the character. What did you think about jet skis in general, but also specifically jet skis from the 90s?
I have ridden a jet ski from the 90s. You can't really bounce on it too well, but it's pretty fun to ride.
Did you say wow?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I really hope we get a scene with Owen Wilson on a jet ski in the series eventually. It doesn't even have to. It could be a variant of Owen Wilson, but it'd be pretty entertaining to kind of pay that off of getting Mobius. Is it Morbius? I think it's Morbius.
Not Morpheus. That's from.
No, it's Mobius. It's Mobius.
Mobius. Okay.
Yeah, having Mobius on a jet ski seems like the funniest thing ever. Or at least having Loki on a jet ski. Imagine the god of mischief on a jet ski.
With his full head horn thing. And
Nick, do you think we're going to get more Lokis in this series? You think we're just going to stick with the two?
It's a good question. It really depends. I feel like I haven't been able to gauge this show very well over the first 3 episodes. Its pacing. Because honestly, it feels like it's building up to something really big. Like, at this point, we've already been renewed for a second season. So they're already in production on the second season. So we know we're going to get these 6 episodes plus likely another 6 episodes probably next year, possibly later. And we know that this is kicking off the phase 4 of the MCU. And so I feel like this show is not only does it have the responsibility of being a good Marvel show, it has the responsibility of being a good Loki show, but also it has to set up this whole, 4th act of the MCU, which is going to be the multiverse. And I don't... Every single episode, it's gone in a different direction than I predicted, right? So the beginning... The first episode, ends with the, Infinity Stone type, like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? What? And then the second episode ends with, the time bombs. And, like, just the Infinity Stone moment was just like, okay, so this show is basically saying, take me seriously, because we have a drawer full of Infinity Stones. Just a drawer full of them for paperweights. And, like, if you're into the MCU, you know how valuable an Infinity Stone is. There are only 6 of them in the entire, timeline, I guess, but the universe that the MCU originally took part of, there were only 6 of them. A Quill almost died holding one. Groot died holding it. Like, it's not just something that you take lightly. And when a show says, hey, remember that established item or character? Here's something way more powerful than that. And let me show that to you visually in a mind-blowing way. That blew my mind. When we saw the time heist and all those timelines start to diverge, and like that's where I was like, okay, this show is not just going to be your standard, sitcom style TV show where, there's a main plot that overarches all the episodes and then some sub-side tangents that they have to go on every episode. This is a much bigger story, and I really do appreciate that they were able to kind of pull that off here. And then obviously the end of the third one is, I'd say, probably less overarchingly mind-blowing, but they do add a kind of mind-blowing fact, which I'm blown that we haven't talked about yet. The fact that all of the TVA workers are actually variants that have been mind-controlled by the timekeepers. So, like, that was a big mind-blowing event too. And so it just feels like this show... It feels like an entire season is being packed into one show, just of like mind-blowing events. Like, it totally could have been a season ender that at the end of season 1 of Loki, we find that there's a drawer full of Infinity Stones. Like, that could have been like like your standard, medium budget TV show that airs on Tuesday nights. Like that kind of a show would have that as a season ender. But this show is just throwing those around in every episode. And so it's like, this is setting up a lot for the 4th whatever of the MCU, and it's just gonna phase. Thank you. It's gonna be a big 4th phase, and it's also going to be a really big ending to this season. Like, it's going to be big, whatever it is. 'Cause I predict that we'll be inside of those golden doors by the end of the 5th episode. I don't see them stretching that all the way out till the end of the season. But again, I can't predict anything at this point. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. What was the original question?
I guess to add on to that, Nick, I'm curious to see what the timekeepers look like, or what form they're going to take in this. Whether they were even ever real, or if they are real and what they look like, or how they tie into everything else. Because thinking about other characters in the whole entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, like Doctor Strange, who even said verbally, I've been trying to keep a track of all the powerful people in the universe or ever. And your brother is one or whatever. But like, for some reason, he doesn't really register Thanos for some reason, because Thanos comes as a surprise to him at the beginning of Infinity War, along with like the TVA. Like, somehow he doesn't know that the Timekeepers exist, and yet he has held, or not really held, but he's used the Time Stone multiple times. So you think maybe he gets a glimpse of who these Timekeepers are.
Which the Time Stones are literally paperweights there. So
what kind of time power are these guys working with?
I know, right? So I saw a theory, because my whole YouTube recommendations, unfortunately, has turned into Loki theories. I kind of think, and I bought into the theory that those orange sticks that they're hitting people with, and the whole power that the Timekeepers are using, is that quantum energy that Ant-Man gets sent to capture some of at the very end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and he gets lost in the whatever quantum realm. I feel like that's the only power that could be more powerful than Infinity Stones in the MCU at the moment. I unless they just want to say Glorb, so much more powerful than Infinity Stone. See, look.
I think that's a little bit of the problem with these movies, right? They kind of start off small with like Iron Man versus Ironmonger. The most powerful thing in that movie was the arc reactor. And then take it a step up to like maybe Thor. You have gods, and then even more you get to Captain America. We have our first Infinity Stone, the Tesseract, which turns into the Space Stone. But it just keeps on building and building. We get to the point where like in Ant-Man, we have the quantum realm. You're like, well, this is something that they could tap into and like use or something like that. I mean, they even talk about it with the lady having to try to stabilize herself. Because
totally.
She's so torn apart or whatever, and this is the only power that can keep her together.
Time sick, I think, was the term that they used.
I don't know.
Maybe she was a variant that was. Maybe she was a variant who got yellow sticked in some other dimension.
If you go into every single movie with that mentality, then it all just breaks down, because it's like, oh yes, all these movies are all explained by the fact that someone got touched with a weird orange stick in Loki. Like,
yep.
No.
I'm going with it.
Imagine if Loki somehow becomes the creator of the universe. He just goes back to the creation of the universe and somehow like takes responsibility of it, or like, I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised, because these Timekeeper people are... There's some comic that Marvel had made a long time ago, and I don't really understand it, but there was some big war, and that's where the Celestials died, where we saw Nowhere is the head of a dead Celestial. And when the Celestials died, it was these 3 Timekeeper beings that like took the timeline and unified it. And that's been in comics for a while. But those guys were bad guys. Those 3 guys were always portrayed as bad guys in this war that happened however long ago.
They're probably
and so
still bad guys.
I wouldn't. Yeah, no. I mean, they're obviously being portrayed as the bad guys of this series. But I wouldn't be surprised if Loki ends up being the bad guy. So Norse mythology, Loki is the agent of change, right? He's always pushing buttons, changing things, disrupting the status quo. And that's what makes his character so interesting, because you never predict what Loki's about to do. You think that he's handing Thanos the Tesseract, but he's actually going to stab him. It's like that's Loki in a nutshell, right? You think he's doing one thing, and he does the other. And Oh, I wouldn't stab you in the back again.
I would never do it again. The lines that they have Tom Hiddleston saying in the series are pretty good too.
Totally.
I think they're really banking on the fact that people love the words that come out of Loki. I mean, there's even videos on YouTube you can find of Tom Hiddleston dressed up as Loki at Comic-Cons or wherever, and people are just cheering.
No, really?
Like, everyone applauding over the fact that Loki is here.
That's fun.
Even in, like, what was it? In Ragnarok, they have that funny scene where Loki comes in on the ship and he's like, "Your savior is here."
Yeah.
Very much like a
what?
showman in this sort of way.
Yes.
And so people love Loki. I think this is a great series, like you said, to branch out more of Phase 4 and be able to kickstart a lot of this new dimensional stuff that Doctor Strange hopefully really gets deep into. I don't know how they're going to do in 2 hours. Again, that's the thing that, like, Disney Plus is kind of ruined about movies, is like you get a movie almost every week, or at least you get half a movie every week, and like 6 episodes, that's 3 movies.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, those were almost hour long each, right? It's like that's pretty much a movie.
Yeah, so basically
I mean,
like
on the shorter side, but
3 movies we're watching in the course of, I don't know, a month and a half
6
or
weeks.
so, and so it almost spoils movies like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because you're like, okay, yeah, they're working on a movie budget, so they get to do more. But I mean, Marvel's already kind of doing some of that with the TV show, so it's like, why doesn't everything turn into a TV show at this point? So that way they can explore more. But I guess movies bring in the crowds, and they have to get some way to get you hyped about things. They can't do Endgame Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3. This isn't the comics anymore.
Yeah.
So I think this is a
That's
nice
true.
medium, is maybe what I'm getting to, with like how comics were/are, where like you get a comic maybe every month or a few months or whatever, and you get to see what happens to Captain America in this issue. Oh, look, he's black now. Or, oh, Red Skull is back, or something else. But like you get page turners and page turners of things, where a movie is one really big well, maybe not one really big encyclopedia. It's more of like the Garfield
snapshot
small
window
of like a newspaper.
Detailed small snapshot.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm liking where Loki is going. I'm curious on what they do, and I don't know. I'm not really too hooked on Sylvie yet, or really at all.
Okay.
She's not really interesting.
What
to
don't you
me.
like about her?
I don't know. She's not really too interesting to me. I kind of originally bought into the idea that the fan base brought up was, oh, maybe she's the Enchantress. In which I think if maybe she survives this season, maybe she slowly becomes that character eventually, who the Enchantress is, of course, one that can mind control and stuff. And so maybe she turns into that. But I don't know. I think the thing that you loved about the end of episode 3 is the thing that I didn't like. It was like this one big spectacle shot of them running around. Like, why are you guys running in circles? Like, you ran into the restaurant just to get confronted by guards. Why are the guards like? There's so many questions that are being brought up in the scene of like, okay,
no, that's fair. It doesn't make any sense.
You need to get to the
but
rocket. Why are you running from the rocket? Why are you running into this restaurant? Why are you getting locked in the restaurant with armed guards that you then incapacitate, but then just leave the restaurant and then you go back to where you were before, where now things are slowly crumbling around you, and then the rocket explodes? Like, aren't you guys magical? And then also, like, there's the scene with like a building falling down, and then Loki like suddenly magically like reverts it back to what it was. It's like, do you have the time stone? Like, did you still feel those gems?
Does.
Like,
I think he does have the time stone.
Or is he just that powerful of a illusionist, where he's able to bend space and time in a sort of way? Because I mean, maybe he's not at the level that he was in Endgame, that he had time to kind of build up, maybe, but he still has his mother's teachings. So,
but if he has the time stone, he could have fixed all of their problems, right? He could have, like we've seen in Doctor Strange, the time stone can like reverse the aging of an apple, and so like he could reverse the aging of this broken, whatever they call them, the knockoff iPads that are time controllers, and then even charged it somehow. Like I think he does have the time stone, but I think that they're gonna save that reveal for something big, like, oh, by the way, I have all of Doctor Strange's powers now because time stone.
Or like they could have walked up to the rocket that's exploded, then revert time
and reverse it,
and then
exactly.
just get on the rocket, but then make it launch like 5 minutes before. Maybe that's what they're building up to, but I don't know. It seems like invoking an Infinity Stone at this point just to like use its power to like convenience the plot doesn't sound interesting to me. I think the more interesting and or what I hope happens in episode 4 is either Mobius comes and saves them, or they find another way, because they're kind of stuck on a planet, or no, a moon that's about, or is it a moon getting killed by a planet or a planet getting killed by a moon? I
forget.
Of the two. Either or. Things are going to go down real quickly soon with a giant chunk of Earth smashing everything. I mean, they already had that in like one quadrant that you saw in this really beautiful wide shot I enjoyed, where like you had a piece of planet falling onto the other planet, and then huge dust storm wherever. But like
ruffles,
yeah, I'd like to see more of that visual stuff. But like the stuff that we saw at the end of episode 3, I wasn't a fan of because it just didn't make sense logically with the characters. Like, oh, we're just going to get into random scuffles and run around, instead of like what Sylvie said earlier in the episode, which is stick to the mission. The mission is get off the planet, get back to the TVA. Or something like that. So, I don't know. Episode 3 kind of just didn't sit well with me. I was a bit more angry after watching it. So,
I can see what you mean if you're coming at it as this is a time waster. I honestly would agree with you as far as the time wasting. Like, why the heck were they walking all over the place then on that planet? Like, they passed by how many trucks? And like, can't they use their magic to like, I don't know, walk faster? Can't like Loki make a X-Jet appear? Or no, wasn't it an X-Jet? Yeah.
A Quinjet.
Can't he just, Quinjet?
Quinjet is what the Avengers use.
Quinjet.
X-Jet is what the X-Men use.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. He needs the SR-71
They already used that magic though, Nick, because they were like miles upon miles outside the city limit when they're on the railroad tracks running to the city, and then the announcer's like 10 minutes until launch, and then somehow they're in the city. Like within 10 minutes, they're either Usain Bolt, they're either that, or they already use their magic for that, or maybe we're just gonna bar physics at this point because we're in some weird multiverse of madness or pre-multiverse of madness.
I'm honestly, you said you're not super interested in Sylvia. She's probably the character that I like the most out of this whole show. Owen Wilson's great, Loki's great. But I think she's one of my favorites, just because we have the potential with her character to learn so much about this new fourth, not set four, but
fourth phase
generation, the next, not fourth base. What?
No, phase what? 4.
Phase 4.
I said fourth phase.
Fourth base. Oh, phase, not base. Oh my gosh! All right, guys. Wow.
It's a pretty phase late 4. Night, apparently.
No, it's not. It's not even night yet. As we can tell, I had to turn off my AC
Nick,
for audio
they don't
reasons.
Know that.
I'm sure I'm just waiting. Oh, yeah, sorry. Totally dark outside. 100% dark outside. No light coming in that window.
It's just a really big white lamp to your left or whatever.
Yeah, huge white lamp. Just very, very, very bright
lamp.
There is
one right there. You are a mischief man.
I'm a mischievous man. But like, they're able to show so much about Phase 4 with Sylvia's character, because she obviously knows that the timekeepers, she's been around the bush enough to know that the timekeepers are controlling variants against their will. She knows how to get into mines and enchant things. She obviously has known a ton about time travel and what does and doesn't cause a Nexus event, so that she could figure out this, go somewhere right before the place explodes or whatever. What are they called, those? Apocalyptic events. They go, like, she knows enough about time travel and stuff to do apocalyptic events. And she also is able to, have the time pad all like keyed in and stuff. So like, she knows a lot. And this whole fourth phase of the MCU is gonna really rely on what happens in this show as far as, how this multiverse spreads out. Because, like, I'd love to see X-Men characters in here. I'd love to see Star Wars characters in here. Like, heck, wouldn't it be funny if Darth Vader just showed up? Like, Disney owns the rights.
He already did
There's
it
no reason
in
why.
Ninth Museum with Owen Wilson. So
Yes, no, totally. Just bring in Oscar the Grouch and King Tutankhamun. It's bring them all in. Teddy Roosevelt. Actually, we can't anymore.
Imagine
Sorry,
Robin Williams in the MCU, Nick.
I would love to see that. Unfortunately, it's never going to happen unless we do some crazy Tarkin recreation thing, which I probably wouldn't support. But
imagine Robin Williams
kind of
as Mobius, though. That'd be an interesting role that he would have taken on.
Ooh.
Like,
Ooh.
I could buy it, but I don't know. It would have been. He could have been another role, but that role wouldn't have been bad for Robin Williams. Anyways, what you were saying with Sylvia or Sylvie.
Yeah, so like Sylvie, they have so much opportunity to show us so much about this whole new phase in this. I'd love to see how this whole multiverse, because I think at this point in the timeline, if those Nexus events redline after just a few minutes, I mean, we're already a few minutes into this whole thing. So, like, after the time bomb, by the time they were at those gold doors having the fight, I think some Nexus events were already past the red line point, I'd imagine, and spreading into this multiverse. And so I personally believe that this whole thing going on whatever that purple planet is, which, by the way, I love the design of that planet. It's so pretty, all the purples and pinks and blues. Very nice. That was all happening during this multiverse of madness. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they just, if the planet just stops falling or something like that. And the idea is, hey, it's now multiverse. Now it's not one timeline anymore. But with this character, they're able to kind of do so much. Like, she's the one who is holding all the cards right now. Loki doesn't know anything. He only knows what Miss Minutes told him on the stupid animated movie, and that's not a lot. It's literally propaganda. It was literally at the end. It said, "Made by the TVA propaganda something narrative telling department," or something like that. It's like, propaganda much? So like, he knows nothing, and she holds all the cards here, and I don't know what those cards are, which is why I love her, because it's like very mysterious. Could she have been working for the TVA as a non-mind controlled variant, just gathering information, pretending to do what the TVA wants? That makes a lot of sense to me. Like, how else would she know so much, like, about all these apocalyptic events throughout time if she didn't have the time to sit down and research all of this? Mm-hmm. There's so many cool stories that I can see them telling with her, and we got 3 more episodes, and I cannot wait to see what they are.
Yeah, I do have to say, probably one of my favorite scenes in the show is Loki or his theory on Nexus events or apocalyptic events, where no matter what you do, it's going to happen. Where they go to Pompeii, and he's just talking to these different people, just like spoiling everything, and everyone's just like, "You're a crazy person." That it happens.
Mount Vesuvius.
Yeah, Loki's like, "See, I'm right," just like with his big ear to ear grin of just like, "I'm correct," and Mobius is just okay.
Have you seen Night at the Museum 2? Or 3? No, it was 3.
I've seen all of them.
Oh, okay, cool. All I could think of seeing Mobius at Pompeii was the tiny Roman guy saying, "Yep, wop." Yep, wop.
What is yep, wop?
I don't know. Yep, wop.
That's a pretty fun series.
Bombay! We should review that sometime. That'd be fun. Wow. I don't know if I want to ruin my childhood, though. I have a lot of fun childhood memories with the Night at the Museum stuff, so maybe we shouldn't wreck that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with... I didn't realize that they're going to do a season 2 of Loki. That was news to me, what you said. It makes me a little bit...
I got that from a YouTube video, so...
Oh, well, I mean, I'm looking at the IMDb, and it says 2021-2, and they don't have an end date, where I think WandaVision is just 2021. Because I don't... I can see a second season of WandaVision where it's more of just Wanda trying to figure out how to talk with this new Vision, I guess. This new, different version of Vision. Loki, I could see it just like as a one-off type of series, but I am excited that they are actually putting in the time and effort to do a second season and explore more of this character that people love. It would be nice. I think one of the looking forward statements, or at least events that I want to see, is him interacting with Thor again. That dynamic duo
is Thor here?
Thor?
I don't think Thor's in this.
No, what I
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Outside of this season. Got it.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the second half of the season here. Got it.
No. But what I want to see is Thor come in at some point, or at least Loki visits or talks with Thor, whether it's Thor pre-Infinity War or post-Infinity War or Endgame. Doesn't matter to me. I think just their dialogue between Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston is gold. Mm-hmm. Or even having them having Loki trying to talk with Star-Lord is something that would be pretty
that'd be so much fun.
Because Loki
have it be an exact repeat of what Thor and Star-Lord had. It's like, I'm in command.
Yeah, or even just it'd be almost like Tony Stark and Star-Lord, where it's very much just dude who's obviously a genius and knows what's going on, and the other dude who's very much aloof and not understanding anything besides, I've got a plan, it's going to require a whole bunch of rubber bands. And you just get the look from Tony Stark of just being like,
dumb people.
But yeah, so
hey, something that I wanted to ask you about here, on as far as what we're looking forward to in this season still. What do you think is going to be going on with Richard Grant?
Richard Grant. So is he some dude who's credited?
Yeah. So he's an actor. I don't know what he's played in, but anyway, he's credited on IMDb.
Oh my goodness!
He's credited for episode 4, 5, and 6 of this season.
I guess he'll probably.
And we don't know what character he's playing. I think, my personal opinion, he's going to be playing an older version of Loki, and a different timed variant of Loki, because he looks about the same. I mean, he's a British actor with dark hair and blue eyes.
You know where you last saw him?
Kind of about the same facial structure.
He was General Pride in Rise of Skywalker. He was the one dude who. He was kind of the bad guy.
Yeah, was standing up to. Yeah.
I've seen him in other things. Okay. I've seen him in. We just saw. Actually, no, we saw him in.
He's
Logan.
in X-Men.
He was Dr. Rice.
Logan.
He was the one who, for some reason, is just like X-24. Get back here. No, but I've seen him in Doctor Who, along with. Oh goodness, there's a bunch of other things. He's been in a lot of things. I'm looking at his IMDb page, and he's been in a whole bunch of stuff. But
he's nominated for an Oscar.
Man, this dude should get an Oscar. His performances are stellar every single time he gets into a series or a show. But yeah,
this is probably the big reveal I'm most looking forward to in the next episode 4, is some other dimensional existence of Loki, of his current timeline.
If it is Loki, we don't know if it is Loki. It could just be the back half of the season's bad guy.
No, it has to be Loki. Come on.
What if he's a timekeeper? Well, now I've just torn Nick in two.
I don't know which one I'd want more. Old Loki would be pretty fun, but having him be the timekeeper, that'd be kind of cool.
I think timekeeper would be good because then we get to keep him around longer, assuming that the timekeepers get to survive past season 1 and 2 of the Loki series and actually branch off into this multiverse that we're going into with Phase 4. If he is just an old Loki, I guess cool. It's a nice, bright, burning star, I'd say, in terms of a performance. But we would only get him for 3 episodes or whatever. It'd almost be like old Spock from Star Trek. It'd be like, okay, we get Leonard Nimoy for a little bit, and then he's gone. Except Leonard Nimoy passed away because of health reasons. Richard E. Grant is still alive, but still. I don't know. It would be neat, but I'm not too sure. What characters would you like to see come into this Loki series, Nick? If you were to put your hand in this giant bag of MCU characters, it doesn't even have to be MCU. It could be X-Men. It could be Fantastic Four people. It doesn't matter. Just reach in, grab a character. Who would you want in this series? Or who would you like to see come into this series?
Henceforth, this episode shall be ruled by Emperor Palpatine.
This isn't MCU.
I want Papa Palpatine to show up in no. One of the multiverses has to be Star Wars, right? Like, if we're gonna branch off into the multiverse of madness, there has to be a Star Wars multiverse.
Nah.
All right, if we're gonna be serious here,
I think that's more Fast and Furious and Jurassic World type of stuff.
yes, I want the dinos from Jurassic Park from the Professor dude. Yeah, I want to know. I don't know. Who do I want? I don't know. Agatha would be kind of cool because there's been a lot of purpley things going on this planet. I wouldn't mind more Agatha. I really liked Agatha in WandaVision. So if we're just saying strictly Nick's favorite character that he misses seeing in another movie or TV show that he wants to see in this one, probably be Agatha. You know, just the...
It wasn't Loki.
Agatha.
It was Agatha all along.
Maybe it is. Who knows? What if she is mind controlling a poor guy named Derek Boner or whatever, and whatever his name is.
I'm surprised you remembered his name. I think it was Derek Boner.
Derek Boner. Anyway, what if she's just mind controlling some guy who looks like Loki and David Boner? Anyway, Boner.
David
Bowie. Last name.
I would like to see David Bowie in this series.
Actually, I want to see President Joe Biden. That's who I want to see in this series.
Old Captain America's back?
Just like... yes, old Cap. Portrayed as Joe Biden, not by Chris Evans.
Nice. Just pile in all the Chris's as well. We get Chris Pratt, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth. You know how was it Infinity War? Anyway, like it was kind of a contrived meeting of all of the girls on the battlefield. It kind of felt a little contrived. I think it was Infinity War. It was Endgame. It was Endgame. I don't know. It was a little contrived.
A little.
It happened to be all of the girls there. I was like, whatever. But I want to see that with all the Chris's in this. Just like all of the Chris's just show up. Just the Chris's.
Imagine a bunch
and any
of
like production assistants, the sound boom guy whose name is Chris, they can join this fight too. Break the fourth wall of this. Just have the camera spin around and see the director munching on a bag of Doritos and say, "What are you doing?" And then have that be some kind of plot point. They need to break all the walls here. I don't know.
That sounds more like a WandaVision type of thing.
Sense. That would be kind of funny if they spun around and it was Agatha. Oh wait, they did.
They already did it. Nice.
They already did
cool.
that.
Well, I'm excited for where Loki goes. I'm sure we will cover the last 3 episodes when they air and give our thoughts on what this first season of Loki looked like and what we thought of Richard E. Grant's performance as whatever character he is.
Yes.
And whatever happens with Sylvie. It'll be interesting to see if they kill her off at the end of the season or if they keep her on. I don't think they're going to kill off Tom Hiddleston. If they do, then that'll be interesting if she becomes like the Loki that we kind of follow more than the Tom Hiddleston Loki. It's the Sophie Di Martino Loki. It'd be...
I don't know how I'd feel about that. I really like Tom Hiddleston's performance as Loki. I think I would significantly miss that. That would... Yeah. I don't know.
I also wanted to add...
They'd probably win me over.
Also wanted to add, the movie that I was thinking about was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. When I was talking about Fing Fang Foom earlier in the video or podcast or whatever this is going to be at the end of this. Anyways, any final thoughts?
Probably
Mr.
nothing. You know what? Actually, we were talking about who I wanted to bring in to the MCU.
About someone else. No. He's not coming back. He already said he's not coming back.
He might.
He's not.
He might. We might get some Wolverine action.
Even if we offered him an actual X-Men like Tower / X-Jet, I don't think Hugh Jackman would come back. Unfortunately, as much as my mom wishes.
Maybe he just comes back. Maybe he just comes back as Janitor Hugh, and he's just cleaning the background. I think that'd be fun.
Imagine Old Man Logan, except it's just a janitor. That'd be pretty funny. Using his claws to take gum off of the underside of desks. it's not coming out right, so he's kind of having to like.
It's like instead of a Stan Lee cameo, it's a Hugh Jackman cameo.
Oh, that's something I didn't really realize. We're not going to get any more Stanley cameos, at least in a lot of these movies. At least we got it in Endgame. Did we get it in Far From Home? I don't think we did. I don't think he appeared in Far From Home.
I don't think so.
Bummer. At least we got him in Deadpool.
No, he did. He was the bus driver. He was... Oh, no, that was still Infinity War. Or no. That was Infinity War. He was the bus driver on Infinity War, huh?
And then he was a make peace, not war driver guy when driving past the military camp in Endgame. Yeah. All right. Well, otherwise, thanks again for joining us for this wonderful kind of review. More of what we thought about Loki mid-season, I guess.
Don't be afraid to call it what it is, Mike. We were fangirling for the past hour. Thanks for joining us.
On that note, take care, everyone.
Bye.